The long-awaited Bellator vs. PFL card is coming up this weekend, and today, guys, I'm going to be breaking down the main card. The main card, by the way, timestamps will be there if you'd like to skip to any part of the video if you want to just get straight into the fights, or any particular fight, by the way. I don't know how interested people are on watching a video breaking down Bellator prelims, LFA prelims, all these kinds of stuff, so I would really appreciate comments if this is something you guys would like me to do moving forward. But for today, I will be breaking down the main card and predicting these fights. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's get into it. Moving on to the first fight, we have Clay Collard taking on AJ McKee Jr. I'll start with Clay Collard because Clay Collard, the first thing that screams out to you, of course, is his 24-11 record. He is much better than his record shows. There's been some questionable decisions in his career, but regardless, this dude has, when he does lose, it's typically a very, very close fight. He was on a nice little bit of run, beating really, really good opponents, by the way, Shane Burgos being one that shocked a lot of people, but then, of course, he came off of a really tough loss just 2 months ago. Now, Clay Collard, the game plan is kind of there to beat him. If you want to beat him, you got to wrestle him. This dude wants to come in, he wants to box, but he is a very, very good boxer with very crisp hands, very fast hands, so he's one of those fighters that is very good at what he does, but he can be exposed on the ground. He's taken on AJ McKee Jr., who is 21-1, looking absolutely fantastic as of late. And again, he's beaten some really, really good opponents as well. Of course, the big difference for this fight is he's an all-round MMA fighter compared to Clay Collard's just boxing game. So here's the thing. It all depends on AJ McKee Jr.'s game plan, because if he comes in, he just wants to wrestle, it shouldn't be a problem. And Clay Collard, like, he's not completely useless on the ground, don't get me wrong. He's not one of those, like, I take you down and it's time to bust, you know what I mean? Like, he's just primarily a boxer. If he doesn't just box with you, if AJ does stand up with him, wants to test and just have a fun fight with Clay Collard can clip him. Clay Collard can easily overwhelm him. But I just have to pick, for my official prediction, I have to pick the options that AJ McKee Jr. has here. He can come in, he can kickbox with you, he can wrestle with you, he can grapple with you, he can try to submit you, and he might just go on and do that. Clay Collard is a very good and capable fighter, though, don't get me wrong. Again, he is much better than his 24-11 record, but I will be picking AJ McKee Jr. to get the win here. Moving on to the next fight with two fighters that I cannot believe are still fighting. We have Thiago Santos taking on Yoel Romero. Now, I always enjoy watching Thiago Santos because my dad is a huge Thiago Santos hater. He's forever called him useless Thiago Santos, and I always find that funny. So it's like, it gets a little bit nostalgic throughout the years watching Thiago Santos, especially as it comes back to the... especially as he comes in to the later part of his career, still fighting here. But it's funny, like, don't get me wrong, my dad's not a Thiago Santos hater. It's just, he's had so many boring performances where he just is so low volume. My dad just does not like to watch him, and I find that funny all the time. We call him useless Thiago Santos. But Thiago Santos, before all of his injuries, before he aged, he was definitely not a useless fighter, and he still has the same strength that he always has, that being power. Very, very capable power, but as of recent times, he has been so inactive. It's incredible, man. Absolutely incredible. Only having one win, which depends how you want to take a look at this no contest right here. But the Johnny Walker win was his only win as of recently, and he did not look good in this fight. After that, like, Thiago Santos has been sucking, dude. He's been taking on, like, don't get me wrong, he's been taking on great opponents, but at the end of the day, I don't care who's in front of him. He just doesn't do much. That's literally the end of it. But he's taken on Yoel Romero, who, in recent times, has not done much either. He stands there doing the, like, you know what Yoel does where he's like he actually does that stuff in the octagon. It's so weird to me. And, like, speaking of, like, this is going to be such a boring fight, guys. This would shock me if they came out here and actually just swung. But Yoel Romero is still fighting at 46 years old. Somehow, he has gotten, in the past year, 2 KO wins. Don't know how. Well, I mean, like, past 2 years, excuse me. I mean, like, as of recent times. But then, of course, he took on a very capable opponent in Vadim Nemkov, where he got absolutely destroyed and just would not go down. But that's a story of Yoel Romero, right? No matter what you do to him, it seems like the dude doesn't fall over. I cannot believe right now. Guys, if you're interested, by the way, channel membership, you can see exactly what my bets are going to be. But I think I'm going to be betting on this fight this weekend, just on Thiago Santos, because I'm not going to pick a 46 years old, almost 47-year-old fighter in Yoel Romero. Yeah, you know what? I know he was able to scrape by 2 wins, and Thiago Santos is definitely the type of guy that you could win against. But at the end of the day, you have a 47-year-old fighter here. I don't care who else is there. I'm not picking the 47-year-old. Especially with Yoel Romero and the way he looked last time. I get his opponent was really good, but I can't, man. I'm not picking Yoel Romero. I gotta pick Thiago Santos in a very, very boring, do-nothing type of decision. Moving on to the next fight, we have Bruno Cappelozza taking on Vadim Nemkov. Now, I am a big fan of Vadim Nemkov. This dude is the real deal. Of course, he's a light heavyweight champion, but he is fighting at heavyweight, and it does worry me a little bit because he's not like this insanely massive new dude, but the dude is a great all-around fighter, and I love the way he strikes. He strikes with everything. Absolutely everything in each one of his shots. He's so patient. He doesn't swing unless he knows he can hit you. I love watching Vadim Nemkov, but something in particular that I was a little bit worried about was he finally showed signs of gassing out against Yoel Romero in the final round, but you can look at this a couple ways. Because you could look at it as, hey, nobody finishes Yoel Romero. That guy's impossible to be putting away. And Vadim Nemkov was laying out on him for 5 rounds. Like everything into each one of his shots. Or you could look at it on the other side of the coin where, hey, he couldn't finish a 45-year-old fighter. Well, I believe, he was 46 at the time. 46, okay. You couldn't finish a 46-year-old fighter. Crazy to me. But no, I really don't take anything away from him in this sense. He is a fantastic fighter, and he's had a near-perfect record the entirety of the times that we've seen him in his pro MMA. Anyways, he's taking on Bruno Cappelozza, who is exactly what you would expect with a 15-6 record. Sometimes he shows up and gets a fantastic knockout, and sometimes it's a bust. Sometimes he shows up and it's just like, he's a very hit-and-miss fighter. He's one of those guys, but at the end of the day, he is a heavyweight with serious power behind his hands, and all he wants to do is strike with you. That's exactly how it's going to go. And his record showcases that. He has a lot of KO wins, a lot of random losses where just nothing really happens. It's really tough to predict a Bruno Cappelozza fight because he could come in there and just chin Vadim Nemkov because he's very capable of doing so. We don't know how Vadim Nemkov's power is going to transition into the heavyweight division. I don't trust it enough to bet at a minus 550, which is what Tapology has right now, but I believe Vadim Nemkov is absolutely 100% the better fighter. Like, not even close. Bruno Cappelozza relies on his power a little bit too much, and it's not like he comes in there and just wants to slug with you. Like, he's an okay fighter, but he just pretty much relies on the power. Vadim Nemkov has a very strong all-around game, and I believe he is vastly superior to everything that Bruno Cappelozza has in his arsenal. Excuse me there. The pick's going to be Vadim Nemkov, but the heavyweight does worry me for this fight. Moving on to the next fight, we have Ray Cooper III taking on Jason Jackson. Now, I love watching Jason Jackson fight. This guy keeps winning and winning, but against very good fighters. Benson Henderson is like extremely out of his prime, but take a look at everybody else that he's fought here. He's looked very good in his fights, and he looked absolutely incredible in his most recent fight. Jason Jackson is a really good striker with phenomenal takedown defense, does a very good job of staying on the feet, and he is very dangerous on the feet. He's taking on Ray Cooper III, who also likes to keep the fight standing, but he definitely is not nearly as tactical as Jason Jackson. We just saw an incredible hole, and it's not like, okay, here's the thing. It's not like we didn't know that the wrestling was a little bit of a weak point for Ray Cooper III, but that really got exposed against Derek Brunson, because Derek Brunson came in, took him down, and just absolutely dominated him to a point where I think it should have been stopped before that. But regardless, losing that bad at Derek Brunson, you don't really see that too often. But regardless, has a little bit of a spotty record, better recently, but still, it's, even these wins haven't exactly aged all too well. I know, like Rory McDonald's a great name, but it's a Rory McDonald that was a shell of his former self. It's just Ray Cooper III, his record speaks for itself. He comes in, a little bit of a sloppy striker, has some power behind his hands, has a hole in the wrestling game where Jason Jackson will not be taking him down, but Jason Jackson will absolutely be the more technical fighter on the feet, and Jason Jackson probably has more power in his shots than Ray Cooper III. Now, when you have somebody who fights chaotic like Ray Cooper tends to do sometimes, there is always a worry that you can catch his opponents, but Jason Jackson, man, he has been on such a roll against such phenomenal talent. I have to pick him. I'm pretty confident in saying that Jason Jackson will get the win here over Ray Cooper III. My pick is going to be Jason Jackson. Moving on to the co-main event, we have Impa Kasanganay versus Johnny Eblen. Now, guys, I'm going to get ready for some comments here because I have a little bit of an unpopular opinion here. I think Impa is so overrated. I just do. Yeah, he's big. He's powerful. That's pretty much all there is to him. I'm not saying he doesn't have, like, any technique whatsoever, but I think Impa relies on his size and power. And to be honest with you, he wasn't really outsizing anybody at 205. This is a middleweight fight, just to have a little bit of a note there, but he relies on his strength a lot. And I don't think that he is this big, imposing fighter that everybody should be worried about. I just don't. Yeah, you know what? Since he moved on to the PFL, he has strung together and looked very good in quite a bit of his fights. It's just, I'm not high on him, man. Like, there's some fights where he cruises to a victory with boxing. He's patient. He's accurate. But at the end of the day, nothing really screams out to me like this guy is somebody to watch out for, you know? And on top of that, his ground game is not good. Not good. Again, he uses his strength a lot of the time. He's taking on Johnny Eblen, who is the complete opposite. Johnny Eblen is a fantastic wrestler. Fantastic. He's the guy who dethroned Gegard Mousasi. You could argue that Gegard Mousasi was past his prime, but still, after that, it's been winning and winning and looking dominant and dominant and dominant. And he's a complete package, man. He is a great fighter. He has pretty okay stand-up, like a little bit better than okay, don't get me wrong. He's the champion. He's a champion, man. When I say he is a very dominant wrestler, he wants to come in there and obviously wrestle you. It's just he has such a strength there, man. He's so good at what he does. He's a fantastic fighter. He's undefeated. And I think he is going to ragdoll Impa Kasanganay. Impa, here's the only but with this, okay? I don't know how Impa is going to look at middleweight sizing up to Johnny Eblen. I see a world where Johnny Eblen goes for takedowns and just gets completely outmuscled. Doesn't matter what the technique is. Doesn't matter any of this. I could see a world where Impa just outmuscles him and stuffs the takedowns. And then you have an argument because Impa does have okay boxing. He can be pretty patient, pretty accurate at some points, and he has some power behind his hands. I just think he's overrated. I really do. Nothing against him personally. It's just, I see the MMA fans talking about this guy all the time. I don't get it, man. I'm pretty confident in saying Johnny Eblen is going to get this fight. The only way that I see him losing this fight is having a little bit of a strength issue, which is very possible because, again, it's a 205er moving down to middleweight, but it was a little bit of an undersized 205er. Still, Impa is a very, very imposing figure in Johnny Eblen. I'm sure he'll be prepared for it. I'm going to pick Johnny Eblen to get the win here. Moving on to the main event, we have Renan Ferreira taking on Ryan Darth Bader. Ryan Bader has been out of the octagon for a little while, I will say that. 1 year ago, he fought Fedor. Now, a big criticism I have of Ryan Bader is take a look at his track record. It's not good. It is not good. Yeah, you got some wins, but who are they against? He got the name Fedor, but how old was he? 48? Something like that. He should not have been fighting in the in Bellator, at all. His only name of a decent opponent, and keyword being decent, is Corey Henderson, and he lost. Ryan Bader is going on 41 years old right now, and he's taking on a guy in Renan Ferreira who is very big, for heavyweight, by the way, very tall, very long, uses his reach well, has a ton of power, and has a ground game to back it up. Renan Ferreira is nowhere near a perfect fighter, don't get me wrong, but he's 34 years old taking on a 41-year-old fighter. He's 6'8 compared to 6'2. He's 85-inch reach versus 74, and he's coming off of 3 pretty nice wins against better opponents than Ryan Bader. I don't know why Renan Ferreira is such an underdog right now, and I already placed a bet on this fight. I bet on Renan Ferreira. Now, anything can happen. Ryan Bader is a great fighter. I just love the chances for the odds there. I really like Renan Ferreira to win this fight, guys. He's too big, he's too lengthy, he's too tall, he's fought better opponents, and has been more active than Ryan Bader. We don't know how Ryan Bader is going to come back. Over a year ago, he hasn't been active at all, and he's been taken on. The opponents just haven't been the same, man. I don't know what the odds are seeing here. I think Renan Ferreira wholeheartedly should be a favorite, and I think he has a huge potential finishing Ryan Bader here. My official pick for the main event is going to be Renan Ferreira. Again, guys, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing the prelim breakdowns for cards like this, for cards just Bellator, PFL in general, LFA, because there are a lot of fighters on the prelims that I would have to do a little bit of tape study for, so I don't want to do that if nobody wants to watch it, to be honest with you, because, again, only the hardest core of MMA fans are really interested in the prelims like myself. So let me know. Criticism is always welcome on the channel. I would love to know what you guys would actually be interested in. Thank you so much for watching the video, everybody. On the screen right now, if you are interested, check out this early breakdown for UFC 299. Check it out, guys. I will see you either there or in the next video, everybody. Take care.